Imagine being owned by another human being. Imagine that your master, in a fit of cruelty, takes your leg and slowly twists it, just to watch you flinch. The story goes that the young man being tortured did not cry out. He simply said calmly, "If you keep going, you will break it." And when the bone finally snapped, he said, without anger, "There, I told you it would break." That man was Epictetus. He was born a slave in the Roman Empire, lame for the rest of his life, and he went on to become one of the most influential philosophers who ever lived. And the question he spent his life answering was this: if a man who owns nothing, not even his own body, cannot be insulted, then why are the rest of us so easily wounded by words? This is the problem, and you feel it every single day. Someone leaves a cruel comment. A coworker makes a sly remark in a meeting. A stranger online says something about you that is unfair, untrue, and designed to sting. And in an instant, your whole day is hijacked. Your heart speeds up. You rehearse the comeback you should have made. Hours later, you are still carrying it, replaying it, letting a person who means nothing to you live rent-free in your head. We have built an entire culture around this wound. We are more connected than any humans in history, and somehow more easily offended than ever. But here is the part almost nobody will say out loud, and it is the thing that flips the whole problem upside down. The insult is not what hurts you. Think about that carefully, because it sounds wrong at first. We assume the harm travels from their mouth straight into us, like a thrown stone, but Epictetus noticed something strange. The exact same words, said to two different people, land completely differently. One man is destroyed by a remark. Another laughs it off or never even notices it. If the pain were truly inside the words, it would wound everyone equally. It does not. Which means the real damage is happening somewhere else. It is happening inside you, in the split second after the words arrive, when you decide what they mean. And this is exactly where Epictetus begins his most famous teaching, in a small handbook of rules his student wrote down, called the Enchiridion. He opens with the line that became the foundation of all of it. In chapter 5 of the Enchiridion, Epictetus wrote, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of things. It is the action of an uninstructed person to reproach others for his own misfortunes, of one entering upon instruction to reproach himself, and one perfectly instructed to reproach neither others nor himself." Read that slowly, because it maps your entire growth as a human being. The beginner blames everyone else for how he feels. The student starting to learn turns and blames himself, but the person who truly understands blames no one, because he sees that the disturbance was never in the event at all. It was in the judgment he attached to it. The words are just sound and air. The wound is the meaning you choose to give them. Once you see that, Epictetus hands you the most practical, most liberating sentence in the entire book. In chapter 20 of the Enchiridion, he wrote, "Remember that it is not he who reviles or strikes you who insults you, but it is your opinion about these things as being insulting." This is the whole secret, and it is almost violent in how directly it cuts. The man who reviles you cannot insult you. He can only make sounds. What turns those sounds into an insult is your opinion that they are insulting. The offense is not delivered to you. It is manufactured by you, after the fact, in the privacy of your own mind. And this is not a trick to feel better. It is a literal description of what happens. There is always a gap between the words landing and you feeling hurt, and in that gap lives your judgment. Epictetus is teaching you to find that gap and stand inside it, because if you are the one assembling the insult, then you are also the one who can choose not to. Now, you might be thinking this only works for small things. What about when someone is genuinely spreading lies about you, talking behind your back, trying to ruin your name? Epictetus had an answer for that too. And it might be the funniest, sharpest thing any philosopher ever said about gossip. In chapter 33 of the Enchiridion, he wrote, If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, "He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone." Sit with how brilliant that is. Someone runs up to tell you that another person insulted you. Your instinct is to defend yourself, to argue, to prove the accusation wrong. Epictetus says, do not defend at all. Instead, agree, and go further. He only mentioned a few of my faults. Clearly, he does not know the rest, or he would have listed those too. In one move, you have removed every handle the insult had on you. You cannot be wounded by a criticism you are willing to top yourself. The person trying to provoke you finds nothing to grab. They are swinging at empty air. This is not arrogance. It is the deep humility of someone who has stopped needing to appear perfect. So put these three ideas together, and you have the complete Stoic defense against being offended, built by a man who had every reason to be the angriest person in Rome. First, the disturbance is never in the event. It is in your judgment of the event. Second, no one can actually insult you. They can only act, and your opinion is what turns their action into a wound. And third, when someone attacks your reputation, you disarm them not by defending yourself, but by refusing to need their approval in the first place. Notice what all three have in common. Every one of them moves the power back into your hands. The slave learns he is freer than the emperor, because the emperor can be ruined by a single rumor, while the slave who governs his own judgments cannot be touched. And this is why Epictetus matters more than almost any other voice in this tradition. He was not a wealthy man, explaining patience from a comfortable villa. He had been beaten, owned, and crippled. He knew exactly what it was to have everything external stripped away from him. And what he discovered, in the one place no master could reach, was that his judgments were entirely his own. No one could take them. No one could force them. The one thing fully in your control is the meaning you assign to what happens to you, and that single freedom turns out to be enough. So the next time a comment, a remark, or a cruel message reaches for your peace, remember the lame slave who could not be insulted. Pause in that small gap between the words and the wound, and ask yourself the only question that matters. Is this thing insulting, or is it only my opinion that makes it so? If this gave you something to think about, subscribe, because one Stoic idea a week genuinely rewires how you handle the world. And in the next video, we look at the strange morning ritual a Roman emperor used to drag himself out of bed, and why his trick for hard mornings still works 2,000 years later.